So how, I guess, we normally start at Urbanite is to gather insight. So we take the brand strategy, we take the visitor profiles that have been done either by brand or the client. We investigate the touch points. We take the architect's narrative. Perhaps we look at precedents. We look at the client expectations, the budget, time frame and resources. And I'll break all of this down. So key quarter is I don't know if anyone's familiar with what key quarter is, but AMP own quite a large block from the back of Customs House, Loftus Lane and Young Street, up to Bridge Street. And what they are doing is redeveloping that whole site. And they're putting in a big new tower. So this existing tower here, they're doing an adaptive reuse of that tower. So they're just stripping the exterior of the tower, and they had a competition, and 3XN won the competition to design the tower. Before they even did that competition, they employed Frost Collective to actually brand this idea of redeveloping this whole city block, which was really a very generous gesture for Sydney. It's going to be really fantastic because Circular Quay is a little bit empty. You go to MCA, but there's nowhere really to eat or hang out if you're not a tourist. And so really, I guess this quote from Phil Kim, it really, I guess, sums up what AMP are trying to do. So key quarter is about taking business districts, living districts and laneway culture and architecture, blurring the lines between inside and outside to create a new heart of the city. And that's a visual there of the winning 3XN's design for the 50 Bridge Street site. So our challenge was to create a space to communicate to leaders of business who really are potential clients who might lease the space, and really to show them what this whole story of the key quarter is all about. So we had just a plain office space, very low ceilings, very awful windows. So firstly, we took the brand strategy and we had a look at that, and the brand values were generosity, well-being, authenticity, diversity, high performance. Then we looked at the brand identity, which I'm only showing 2 slides, but it's, you know, hundreds of pages, the deck that Kat worked on. And these are just some visuals of what the actual brand identity and how visually it was represented. And then the colours and the focus. And so we actually decided to focus on this part of the brand identity to communicate the brand. So then we also looked at the visitor profiles, and these profiles here are not specifically for key quarter, but they just show you an example of, with the visitor profiles, how we look at the different people who, I guess, is the audience of the space that Kat was talking about, and what their motivations are, what brands they're used to using and familiar with, what services they like, their frustrations, their ideal experiences, and broke all of that information down to then have this story of what this profile of the user would be. So then we look at the touch points, and this is, I guess, a very simple interpretation of the touch points, but all the opportunities that the visitor will have to come in contact with the brand. So that being on-site and off-site, so websites, magazines, online, even conversations, somebody calling them expression of interest through the mail, brochures, going all the way to the suite entrance, interactive tables, the street presence, and then the space inside, and all the opportunities inside the space that the visitor will come in contact with the brand. So then, and this was, I guess, the biggest chunk, was interpreting the architecture, and how do we communicate an architect's vision without recreating a space, without recreating the architecture. And that is the most challenging, I have to say. So with architecture interpretation, I guess everybody knows, the impact of architecture is great, and it affects us in so many ways. It can affect our movements, our mood, our sense of scale, our sense of space, place, manipulate our focus, so actually draw attention to an area, an object with lighting or space manipulation, evoke our memory. It can intimidate us, act as a symbol of power and taste, and inspire us. So we've all felt a sense of joy. This is a James Turrell installation. I know that really incredibly lifts my moods. Those spaces are really fantastic. And we kind of wonder, what is it about light, or like, I guess all that emotional play comes into the ingredients that make this space feel beautiful for me. And then similarly to a dark, damp tunnel, and that feeling, even sometimes when I'm crossing from Devonshire Street to the city, having to go down the tunnel, I know those first few steps I'm always like, oh, that awful artwork on the walls and everything. I just get this sense of dread starting that walk. So the ways in which architecture affects us, it's not really well understood. And strategists, environmental designers, we are here to really break down this experience and encourage a broader understanding, basically, and help to interpret your work. So this is the 3XN building, and so we really looked at what was unique about this building, and it's really, in Kim's words, we highlighted a lot of key sections of his quotes, and these are transcripts from a lot of interviews that I think Kat was part of. And then looked at his diagrams to again see what's really unique about this building. Why this building? Why do you want to be in this building? And the scale, so basically he was saying he's turning little houses upside down. So the building is not one big building, it's actually a conglomerate of tiny little buildings. And so with that you get these microcosms, basically these ecosystems that happen inside each section of the building, where you let in light, you have double height, triple height spaces, you have terraces for each segment. So the insights we gathered from the brand, the visitors, the architecture, I'm going to just list here quickly. So it's trust, community, humanity, generosity, culture, architecture, view, location, vertical village. This is really what makes this building unique. And so this is how we decided to make these unique features an experience. How do we actually communicate that without an essay, as Kat was saying, just by an experience? So firstly, trust, communicating that with a welcoming space, and welcoming through materiality. Community through a shared experience. Shared experience by experiencing something en masse, side to side, shoulder to shoulder with people, rather than it be an individual experience. Scale through the ergonomics in the space. So making sure that everything is at human scale and that is easily visible and to touch. Accommodating, so generosity being communicated through accommodating. So accommodating in terms of creating little spaces that are specifically for one task, so that just accommodates this one function. Culture through storytelling. So we decided to do a lot of the essay storytelling of the space, particularly about the precinct, through interactives. So we had an interactive touch table as well as a big, large projection. We decided to communicate a lot of the aesthetic ideas behind the architecture through activation. So activating the space with light, with shards, views, controlling views, as well as drawing people through with the temptation of something colourful, something beautiful around the corner. So So the view, which is also very unique about the site, we decided to use a framing technique, basically. So framing in terms of bringing down the view, which a lot of the clients were, and I had to say, it took a long time to convince the client to block out half of the windows in the space. But yeah, you'll see what the result is later. So we use this analogy here where you have this incredible sky, but people don't look up there and don't really see it as a wondrous thing. But when you reflect a tiny slither of sky, and like you see in this stairway, it suddenly is so amazing and looks so intriguing, and it really draws your attention. So we used mirrors as well as that idea of limiting a view to make the view more special. Illumination, so again, drawing like the moth to the flame, it's using illumination in that way. And transformation. So transformation, really, the vertical village, we kind of thought the only way we can really communicate that is the space as a whole. So the next thing we do is map out an emotional journey. So we do this by breaking down all those key essential insights and map them out as an emotional journey. Oh, that went a bit too fast, but anyway, you can see here how the emotional journey is also tied with the themes in the space. So the main themes were location and precinct, which is basically the macro story. Then design intelligence, which is the architecture. And then future of workplace, which is then the micro story, the actual personal story. And working in the building, how will that feel like? So then we did some sketches of the plan and mapped the emotional journey down and made it a physical journey. And that's the plan that we ended up with. So what we did, as you can see at the top there, we blocked out a huge proportion of the windows. And we had a very big door, so it's a big, generous, welcoming door that was also a very warm and generous colour. And it was really hard to get the client to go for the pink, because they were all like, no, we want it to be blue. It's like, no, the brand, this and that. Anyway, so we're trying to communicate blue, it's cold. We really want it to be welcoming and warm and unexpected, and to almost be like an Alice in Wonderland sort of moment. And so you come in and you can't see the view, and you're engulfed in timber, and you have this huge projection on the right wall, 2 interactive tables, and there's a little nook and another little viewing platform. And then you come into the space, you'll see the big model, there's the architecture story, as well as the view, which is the finale. And so this is the space. So these are the big pink doors. And then you walk into this immersive timber. So these are actually the models of the other competition finalists. And the model at the bottom there is 3XN's model. So this is a touch table, and then this wall to the left here is the big interactive screen. And then we have these little moments, these little accommodations, one to have a private conversation, one to actually step up and look down at the view. And then this is the showcasing of the view space, which also has the model of the 3XN's 50 Bridge Street tower. And all our, I guess, concentration with communicating this narrative, apart from it just being an environment, it actually went down to the cups that the client will use, all the styling, the plants, everything, just to get a really strong sense of place. That's it.